really important to have confidence to speak. I think you need to, even if English is not your first language, you need to have confidence that you know what you're talking about. And we live in Canada. It's a very diverse place. So you shouldn't be afraid of how you're going to sound, your accent, if you're saying it right or wrong. I think it's really about getting out there and speaking it. That's how you're going to learn it. Personally, when I first moved to Canada about 18 years ago, I surrounded myself with Canadians. I went to a Canadian high school where I didn't have any friends from my culture. So that really helped me because there wasn't really any crutches for me to lean on. I was kind of left on my own and had to figure it out. And to me, that was one of the biggest pluses. I learned through speaking. I learned through doing. So that would be my recommendation. It's also important that you're reading and listening to Canadian content and you're watching TV in Canadian content. When I first started my job, I realized that everybody was talking about CBC and what I heard there. So I immediately started listening to CBC radio on my drives to work and from work, and from that I've gained so much knowledge. It's given me talking points at work. At lunchtime when I'm talking to or sitting around a table with people, I can contribute to that conversation because I know what's happening around me. So it's really about opening yourself up, knowing what's going on, and feeling confident enough to talk about it, because it's those casual conversations that are gonna get you or give you that confidence to speak in small or large meetings. It's really, the more you do it, the better you get at it. Practice makes perfect. That's what I believe in this case for sure. We get a lot of emails throughout the day, so your emails again have to be very clear and concise. It really needs to get to the point from the beginning. If that person doesn't know you, obviously introduce yourself, but if there's that background, if you have that working relationship, get to the point right away. It's also important to understand that people are not going to really know the tone that you're writing that email in. So for you to say something very casually, they might actually take that the wrong way. So email, you have to be a bit more careful. And you have to really take the time to reread your email. Think about who's receiving that email. Think about if somebody out of context was to receive that email, how they're going to react to it. Is it going to offend them? Is it going to change anything about what they think about you? So you just have to really watch out. I would definitely say avoid all caps. Do not use all caps. Do not overuse exclamation points. These are things that indicate that there is maybe anger or frustration in the email, and if that's not your intent, it could really set somebody off. So I would say be clear, be concise, get to the point, and keep it as professional as possible. Well, I think the first thing is you need to be prepared. You need to know who you're calling, what you're calling about, and make a little bit of notes in your head before you make that phone call, because you might not always come across that person, or that person might not pick up the phone. So really have some key questions or what you want to talk about, some points ready. Mm-hmm. And it is always important to start off by introducing yourself. I find that there's really no need to say when you're calling. All of our phones have dates and timestamps. So you don't need to kind of waste that space on the voicemail with that. State your name, state why you're calling in a very, very short and a clear way, and then just leave them a callback number to call you back at. So I would say keeping it short, knowing what you're going to say and who you're calling is really the simple way to go here. You just need to be honest and open with the person that you had an interview with, asking about what you can do to improve your interview skills. That's one of the things, because that could help you in future job interviews as well. So don't be shy about approaching that person and saying, how can I improve? Or what are some of the things that you think I should touch on that I didn't? Or did I come across a certain way? How was my body language? These are really simple questions that you can ask, and it can really guide you for the next step. The best way to ask for a question, I would say, is a phone call. So if you're getting a phone call from the interviewer, just be open. Say, can I take 2 minutes of your time to just kind of get feedback on how I interviewed? So that would be my recommendation. That could be very overwhelming when you start at a new space because everybody's new to you and you're kind of walking into groups that already have those established relationship. Uh, so my advice for that would be friendly. You have to make the effort to go introduce yourself. You have to be the one that kind of jumps into the conversations and really you need to get out of your comfort zone, because if you're kind of keeping to yourself, being quiet, it's not really going to get you anywhere. The more you interact with people, the more relationships you're going to build. And in any work environment, relationships are key. You need to build trust. You need to build that personal relationship with people to be able to do a good job with them or to be able to work with them. So I would say really don't be shy. Get out of your comfort zone. Go to the common lunch spaces that people go have lunch in. Don't be shy to sit at a random table that you haven't met anybody. Go take coffee breaks with people that you haven't met before. In meetings, before you start the meeting, personally introduce yourself to every staff there. So again, there's that relationship building happening. I would also recommend taking a personal interest in people's lives. So if there are certain people that you feel like, I have something common in with that person, go talk to them about it. Be personable. Again, it's those personal touches that allow for people to remember you in a certain way and now allow for people to want to work with you. So really pay attention to those little things that are going to make a difference. That's it, another challenging task, especially for a new employee, because you don't really know who's responsible for what and whose project is what, or what project is whose. So it's about reaching out to your team and saying this is, and specifying exactly what kind of help you're looking for. It could be anywhere from introducing you to other staff to finding certain data for a project or finding context for it. So you need to really speak up. Again, don't be the person that has to figure it out themselves. Your team is there to help you. So always approach your team with a sense of they are there to help you. You guys are a team, so you're all connected in a sense in the projects. Even if you're working on separate projects, you never know what kind of expertise might be lying in your team. I would definitely start with either talking casually with your colleagues about the project you're working on, or if it's a really specific thing, go find out from your manager who in the team is responsible for that role and ask if you can get one-on-one time with that person and help move the project forward. That's a very tricky one, and I think a lot of us are shy about approaching our managers or supervisors asking for feedback. But the important thing to know is that it is that kind of feedback that's going to make you better at your job and better at interacting with people. So don't be shy, don't be afraid. A good manager and a good supervisor should be able to have an open conversation with you without really blaming you or without really pointing fingers. It should be about how to move forward on something. So one of the first things I would do is get your manager or supervisor on a private time. Ask them if they want to meet you just for a few minutes to discuss something. And then once you have them in the room, be really honest with them. Say, I'm not sure how to deal with this, but this has come to my attention, or I have noticed, or it's been brought to my attention. So really have a way to open that conversation, but be as honest and truthful as possible. Again, it's not about a blame game. Think about it as, how can I make a situation better so this doesn't come up again? Or how can I deal with something difficult that's going on in my work that I can kind of overcome? And managers and supervisors are there to guide you. They're there to help you through any situation. So like I said, any great manager should be able to openly discuss any of the issues that you might have. It's also important to remember that if there's an issue that you're bringing up with your manager or supervisor, don't talk to your colleagues about it. Keep it as private as possible, because the more you bring it up, people might take it out of context, others might hear it. It's really important to keep it within yourself until the issue is resolved or until there's a solution that your manager or supervisor has provided you. I think performance review is a chance for all of us to kind of take a look at ourselves critically and think about, okay, what is it that I can do that's going to help me do my job better or help me interact with others better? So first of all, your approach to the performance review has to be positive. You can't go in there thinking that I'm going to get criticized. That is part of it, and it has to be constructive criticism. So that's another thing you can talk to your manager about. But really go in there with an open mind as to, I'm ready to receive whatever feedback that I'm going to be hearing, and use that as a springboard into doing things in a different way or approaching certain situations in a different way. If you do receive constructive criticism in a performance review, again, feel free to dig deeper, ask questions as to why your manager or supervisor thought about it or thought that was a weakness, and really ask them for guidance as to, how do you think I can make that better? Obviously that's a challenge for me. I would love your help in that. That's again that collaborative approach that has to exist with your manager and supervisor. Otherwise, if you're kind of taking that feedback and trying to deal with it on your own, that's not really going to help you. That's going to make your life a bit more difficult. Also use performance management as an opportunity to find out what else the manager and the supervisor is looking from you. Get them to really clearly identify what their objectives are for you. What is it that they want from you? Again, having these open conversations is going to create a clear idea of how you should be doing your job or what you're doing well and what you can improve on. So performance management is really, it should be a conversation. It should be a conversation to move things forward within your job.